Hello, thank you for joining me. I'm going to talk about something that I've been asked to talk about on more than one occasion. It's something that I have quite a lot of experience with, having worked as a counsellor in the field for many years. The trouble is that I like to say a spade is a spade with the language involved, but I cannot do that because of the algorithm. So I'm talking about when people mistreat, hurt others, the A word, but I will use the word hurt instead, though it goes very much against the grain. But I would rather that this video got through. So there's all types. There's the types that you hear of in the news, on the news, where people, usually men, but sometimes women, take advantage of others and end up on the offenders list. But there's emotional hurt. There is physical hurt. There is controlling hurt. And there's a total lack of nurturing hurt. And I have to say that for me, that was very often the hardest one to work with. And the youngest person with whom I've worked with was 8. And the stories that they tell, they are horrendous. And some come in and start pouring out their story. Others, they need to gain your trust. They'll test you. They'll use language that they presume that I, as I was then, a middle-aged woman, would not usually fling about. But the aim is truthfulness. So I had to accept it. But if I did not know what they were talking about, I had to ask and say, I'm not saying that it's anything absolutely extraordinary or anything that I've never come across before, but maybe you've used a different word. Could you just explain to me so that I know what you're talking about? So there really had to be a good bond there between the client and myself. And it can be hard to build that trust because a lot of them don't trust anybody. And you could see people walking past and walking past again and again before they eventually pluck up courage and knock at the door. Somebody mentioned that if somebody's been hurt, they will go on to hurt. This, as I replied to them, was actually as a result of a piece of very poor research that was carried out within a prison population. So a population which included quite a lot of people who had been hurt and who were hurting others. So there was a big bias there. I have worked with people who were absolutely beside themselves when they had built up the courage to be in a relationship, maybe get married, and have children. And when the children hit the age at which their hurt had started, they became concerned, largely because of the stuff that's put out and about, that they would hurt their child. So it took a lot of assurance that they wouldn't, because of the hurt they had had, they would not want to inflict that on the child that they obviously loved and were nurturing. Obviously, it's not 100% don't follow on what happened to them. But from my point of view, the vast majority certainly don't. And it's a long, long, slow process for many. They get to the stage of trusting you, and gradually it can be like an onion, peeling off a layer of an onion, one layer at a time. And what happens when you peel an onion? You get tears. There were often a lot of tears, quite a lot of silences, quite a lot of outbursts of really bad language. Anyway, to get this out from them. So accepting that and knowing when to say anything, when to do anything. It was a matter of judgment and hoping that you got it right. Going with your gut, but going with your heart as well. And once they got to gain the confidence and to work through things and begin to trust others besides you and their very often close circle, most of whom probably didn't know about anything that had happened, then they could start thriving, start experiencing life that they had missed out on for a good many years for some of them. And for some, it only felt safe to start talking about what had happened to them when the person who had been hurting them had died. So that shows the extent to which these people are affected. They had their coping mechanisms, which is leaning on an open door for YouTube to talk about this. Some were healthy, some weren't, so we always used to get them to try the healthy options of if they started to feel angry, if they started to feel anxious, give them ways of coping with that in a healthy way. And as for we counsellors, you cannot sit and listen to somebody telling such horrific stories without feeling for them, without admiring them and their strength to have survived. And I did shed a tear on more than one occasion, but mainly you have to respond in a genuine way. If you're shocked, fine, say something about it, that you're not shocked at them telling you that, but you're shocked that somebody could do that to another human being and how horrendous it must have been. So you're walking on eggshells until you get to know a person, and then you can really get into full helping mode, full supporting mode. And we had to support ourselves as well. Loud music, very loud music in the car, or loud music here, flinging myself around, just getting it out. I would put on the kettle and make a cup of tea. I very rarely opened a bottle of wine or anything, because I was concerned that if I had one glass, I could have more than one. But also, we had to have supervision for our work. Essential. Talk through with the supervisor what had happened, any concerns that we had, anything that they felt we should have picked up on or made more of. And it was a great comfort having that, a great help. We never ever took any notes, because the police could come in and our notes could really be misinterpreted. He said, she said, which we understood because we know what had gone before and what came after, but taken out of context, they could read badly for the client if they were taking the person who had hurt them to court, which on some occasions did happen. So you had to carry all of this around with you. I got quite used to remembering it. But then when the client started to improve, it was good to be able to include that as well. So that is, in a nutshell, and avoiding what I hope was avoidable for the good old algorithm. I felt very privileged to have helped, supported these people. These people who were so very strong, so very courageous to talk about things that had happened to them. I admired them. And I let them know that. Thank you for listening. I can't include a nice poem. I can't include a happy ending, apart from saying that I was invited to more than one wedding a couple of years after finishing counselling with people. And I had letters to say, thank you so much. And those meant a lot, because if people just went away and got on with their lives, you don't know. You wonder. And there's some that I still carry around in here that I can't set aside. But I think of them with love. I send a big hug to wherever they may be. So on that note, I am this time going to allow myself a glass of wine, because I know I will only have the one. Thank you for listening. And if you do know anybody who has been hurt, encourage them to seek professional help. It really, really makes a huge difference to their life. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now, with fingers crossed that this gets through. Bye for now. Speak to you soon. Bye.